All right, guys, so we are on to the next section in our new packets, the Inequalities Notes section B. So still dealing with inequalities. You're still going to look at these the same way that you do equations. This is going to be a really quick lesson. It's just, I'm going to do an example, then we want you to try it. And then I'm going to do an example, and then we want you to try it. And just check yourself, okay? You can pause the video after I do the first example, and I'll remind you. And then try that one on the right by yourself, and then unpause the video and watch me solve it. Did you do it the same way? Did you get the same answer? Were you able to graph it correctly? And just check yourself, okay? This should look familiar because, like I said, we just solve these the same way that we do equations. So for this first example, first thing I noticed, boom, right off the bat, I've got variables on both sides, right? And that's what this section is about, right? We're doing the more difficult types of inequalities. Just like when we solved equations, we did the easier ones first and then went to the multi-step ones second. Okay, so here, actually the first thing I notice, I see that there's variables on both sides, but I also see on the right side, I can combine those variables. Negative 2k plus 8k, those are like terms. So I'm going to combine those. Negative 2k plus 8k is 6k. And that greater than symbol comes on down, and I still have 7k minus 8 on the right, or on the left. So here on the left, I have a variable and a constant, but on the right side, all I have is variables. So even though, and my students know this, I always like to get rid of the variable on the right. In this case, I'm just going to get rid of the variable on the left. That way I have all my variables on one side and all my constants on the other. And I'm almost done. So 7 minus 7, that cancels out those k terms, and I'm left with just a negative 8. Go ahead and bring down my greater than symbol. And then here 6 minus 7 is negative 1. So I have negative 1k. Now look what happens here. Okay, we just learned in that last lesson about the negative inequality rule, and that's what we're going to put into place because I have to divide both sides by a negative. I have to divide both sides by negative 1 to get the k by itself. But what that means is that inequality symbol has got to flip, right? So that greater than symbol all of a sudden becomes a less than symbol, and then of course negative 8 divided by negative 1. A negative divided by negative is a positive. But when I look at this, see, this is where sometimes we get confused. The alligator is eating the variable. That means the variable is greater than the number, right? When I look at my answer there, I'm going to rewrite that with the variable first. The alligator still has to be eating the k. I can't switch that, okay? When I read that with the variable first, now it says k is greater than 8, not a. K is greater than 8. So it's an open circle at 8. And because it's greater than, I draw my arrow to the right. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video now. You try the next one and see what you get. Did you pause it? You just watching me to see what you get? All right, well, let's do it together then. So here I've got my wall. I noticed the same thing, right? I've got variables on the right side that I can combine. I mean, I have variables on both sides. That's the first thing I noticed, but I see I can combine the ones on the right. So 3x minus 5x is negative 2x. Bring down my greater than symbol, and I still have my negative x minus 7. And just like I did before, I want to get rid of that x on the left. So I have all my variables on one side and all my constants on the other. I'm going to add x to both sides. That leaves me with negative 7 is greater than negative 2x plus x. Well, remember there is a 1 there. If we don't have a number in front of the x, we know it's a 1. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. So I've got, similar to what we just had in that other example, I'm going to divide both sides by negative. When I divide both sides by negative, I've got to flip the inequality symbol. I'll just do that first so I don't forget it. The negative 1's cancel each other out. There's my x. Negative 7 divided by negative 1 and negative divided by negative is a positive 7. And then I don't like to read it like this. I like to read it where the variable comes first. So the alligator is eating the x. When I rewrite this, I need to make sure that the alligator is still eating the x. So this reads x is greater than 7. Okay, and again, it's an open circle at 7. because x is greater than, I'm drawing my arrow to the right. Now the next two examples, did I do those ones right? Yeah, I did. The next two examples here, same idea. We just have to simplify first, right? But just be careful on the one that you're supposed to try. It is greater than or equal to, which means that one's going to be a closed circle. So just a heads up on that one. First, let's do my example. So no need to pause the video just yet. Let's work on this one together. I'm going to draw my wall. And I see parentheses there, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is distribute. So I've got nothing to simplify on the right. I could actually just bring that down. Negative 24 minus n. That's just going to stay there for now. But then on the left, this n, I'm just going to drop that n down. Haven't done anything with it yet. 6 times n is 6n. And then 6 times 4 is 24. So now I do have like terms I can combine on the left. I have this n plus 6n. Remember, there's a 1 there. So that's really 1 plus 6. That's 7n plus 24 is less than negative 24 minus n. I've got variables on both sides. I always like to get rid of the one on the right. And because I have constants on both sides as well, it works this time. So I'm going to add n to both sides. And that gets me 7 plus 1. That's 8n plus 24 is less than negative 24. And then it's just a two-step inequality from there. You guys solve plenty of two-step equations. You can do this. Subtract 24 from both sides. This is where it gets tricky. Some people think they cancel on both sides. They don't, because that's a negative 24 on the right. So negative 24 minus another 24, well, that's negative 48. And then just divide both sides by 8. Because I'm dividing by a positive, my inequality symbol stays the same, right? It's still going to be a less than symbol, so n is less than, and then I have to see negative 48 divided by 8. A negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 6 times 8 is 48, so I get n is less than negative 6. So I see negative 6 on my number line. This is going to be an open circle, and because n is less than negative 6, I'm going to draw my arrow. That works. I'm going to draw my arrow to the left. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video now and you try the problem on the right. I see what you're doing. You're just waiting on me to solve it for you, aren't you? Okay, well, let's do it together, just like we did the last one. Go ahead and draw your wall right away. You know, it's like a light bulb going off in your head. You see those parentheses, you know it's time to distribute. So I'm going to distribute that negative 6. Negative 6 times 1 is negative 6. Negative 6 times 2v is negative 12v. And then I have plus v is greater than or equal to 10 minus 7v. Right? That right side stays the same because we didn't do anything with it yet. Okay, and I just brought down this this plus v. Just brought it down because I didn't do anything with it yet either. But now I am. I see I can combine these like terms. I've got negative 12v plus v. This isn't 12 plus 1. This is negative 12 plus 1. Negative 12 plus 1 is negative 11. So I've got negative 6 minus 11v is greater than or equal to 10 minus 7v. And then just like I did on the last one, I'm going to get rid of the variable on the right. If you don't do it that way, you can still come up with the same result or the same solution as I did. Or I do, but I always like to get rid of the one on the right. So I'm going to add 7v to both sides. When I do that, they cancel on the right. Negative 11 plus 7 is negative 4. So now I have negative 6 minus 4v is greater than or equal to 10. I'm going to add 6 to both sides, get rid of that minus 6. We have negative 4v is greater than or equal to 16. And then my last step is just to divide both sides by negative 4. Oh, did I just say divide both sides by a negative? Yes, I did. So we've got to flip, whoops, I forgot my or equal to symbol. I've got to flip that inequality symbol. So now it's v is less than or equal to, and then 16 divided by negative 4 is actually negative 4. Okay, I see negative 4 on my graph there. Go ahead and put a closed circle, been a while since we've been able to do one of those, above or on negative 4 on the number line there. And because it says v is less than or equal to that, my arrow will go to the left. All right, and then you guys can go ahead and get started on the assignment. The inequality is written really close to the number line, so actually just do all of your work down here in this space, and then you can just graph your answer on the number line, right there underneath the problem. All right, make sure you ask your teacher if you have any questions.